Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen is expected to deliver the 2026 budget to the House of Legislature in the coming hours. We're live from all 16 regions with pre- and post-budget analysis. Also, automobile spare parts dealers at Abusuakai urge government to maintain the gains made in the stabilization of the city against major foreign currencies. Later on, Deputy Defense Minister leads top officials of Ghana Armed Forces to visit families of victims of Wednesday's stampede that claimed lives. Details of these and more. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Stay with us. Many thanks for joining us. Let's begin the bulletin from here. The Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen, is expected in Parliament this afternoon to present the 2026 budget and economic policy of government. The presentation, scheduled for 2 p.m., will outline government expenditure plans and key policy interventions for the year ahead. 3FM sources say the minister is likely to scrap the COVID-19 levy and announce new measures aimed at ensuring fiscal discipline. We'll take you live to Parliament shortly, but first, let's find out what goes on in the mind of a finance minister when preparing the national budget. For the finance minister, the countdown is not just about numbers, but about people. Families hoping for stable prices, businesses seeking relief, and workers waiting for clarity. Balancing these expectations is no small task.
Economic development in the first half of the year do not warrant a revision to the macroeconomic target and the appropriations bill. The Speaker, I am not asking for additional money from the Appropriations Act. Although we have made significant progress, we are cautiously optimistic.
Inside the ministry, it is a race against time. Former Finance Minister Setekwe tells me it takes analysis and simulations. While advisors weigh every policy option, the minister studies every line to represent the hope of the nation.
We wouldn't even be within, our comfort zone. And therefore, it means that we have to do more. We must be cautious, first of all, with false accounting, pushing things into footnotes and the rest. It will only make us complacent. But we must also be conscious of measures at the primary balance, which can also make us complacent. We need to overachieve.
And these lines in the budget have real-world implications for the market woman, for the trotro driver, and the minister must also think about balance.
Dollar no soon some bra from my because your new man at CDs safer and to $20 and bafoma CDs. Very stable.
Currency stability is what we want, especially with the CFA and the dollar.
Oh, budget what me now to man be a tax when you go no what me if you on that no man be
There are a lot of taxes on goods and services. We want them reduced.
For economist Dr. Edu Owususa Akodie, the minister is not new to budgets.
The minister is not new to this. Last year he presented the budget. I think few days before the budget, he went to the market to have a feel of how the actual markets run. So we think that by now he should be crossing the T's and dotting the I's. By now, all MDAs and MMDAs have submitted their budgets to the minister. I'm sure by now he'll be doing some last-minute touches, doing rehearsal if possible, and especially making sure that his speech syncs well with the people of Ghana. He's a politician, so he might give it some political color.
IMF conditions, debt sustainability, wage bills, infrastructure demands, and social protection expectations are high, while the minister wraps up. As the finance minister readies to present the budgets, he presents more than just figures. He carries the hopes of a country And Ghana will definitely wait to see if the 2026 budget will meet these expectations. Grace Hammoah Agyemang, Accra. Well, ahead of the budget presentation, some residents in the eastern region say they are hopeful the government will introduce initiatives to boost infrastructure, agriculture, and local businesses. They believe increased investment in roads and the agricultural sector will help unlock the region's economic potential and create more jobs for young people.
Budget na ya on do before. Say no, almost say ya tete ni omaso. Na so ni oma na ya tete so no, ye hu she. So agba is say o da mo da public no. So anti no, yes oma ya tete ya ewie mu adwede na nso emegu ye botomu ye. Market ye chin. Ye ba market a Yantoshi.
The best when I miss and say, how much for person to now from now more drivers and also. And our my art to say, a idea of macra dada. I'm a good store. And to this a new fair as a band and all my day, almost among see how much it's almost for person.
Ghana, na ye one. Obi timi bie company na wa bie no afa nipa na ofa nipa na wie no ento emwa be na ban de boa na amadwuma na peja ama obi nso anya biaye sa ban boa individuals na obi adwuma oye no ohyem kena obi awie school a obenya adwuma ye enkoba se yesi military yesi fire service no obi adiem nika.
And so you had some residents in the eastern region, and they are looking out to hearing their minister say government is introducing measures that will boost infrastructure, agriculture, and local businesses. They also want some review in transport fares so that traders will not have to add on the extra fare they pay, which will also translate into consumers paying more. So this is the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. We are gauging the mood ahead of the presentation by the finance minister. He is expected in Parliament to present the 2026 budget, and so we are gauging expectations from Ghanaians, the trotro driver, the market woman, and the regions, as well as all stakeholders. Let me take you to one of the largest spare parts hubs in the country, where dealers in automobile spare parts are hoping that government will maintain the gains made in the stabilization of the city, as the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen, prepares to present the 2026 budget to Parliament in the next few hours. So let's listen to what Aboso Kai is telling us, and then we'll take you up north to the northern region.
In the matter of few hours, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen, is expected in Parliament to present the national budget to Parliament. In accordance with the Public Financial Management Act, in accordance with that, the Finance Minister, who is acting on behalf of the President, is expected to present the national budget to Parliament not later than November 15th. So that's what exactly is going to take place. So we are here at Aboso Kai. Here, the dealers here, most of the activities are dependent on the forex exchange and city stabilization. So they are really concerned about what exactly will be in that very budget.
I think he needs to still work on his status. As I was saying, that if he was to be a coach, he still needs to work on his status. Because Ghanaians are expecting more from him. Because starting from the former president, the value is still the same as the current president that we used to know as President John Dramani Mahama.
At least the dollar, there is some sort of city stabilization. Or you don't see that?
For me, I can say that the Bank of Ghana, I can say they've injected dollars in the system.
Okay.
So meaning the system is not stable as we the Ghanaians are expecting. So that's why I was saying that the president and the finance minister, they need to work on the current system as the country is. Because Ghanaians are expecting more.
The expectation, what do you call it, is inflation. So I bet you say, and I'm a form. I'm bet to me, I'm a stable. You get to me a cost. Because inflation now to me I'm from and I say and name to me and stable. I
wish they will follow the procedure so that whatever he promised they can do it. Especially some of our roads before this government will come on. Some of our roads that wasn't good. I think people are complaining, so they should turn back and work that area.
Omoba, omo de complain we say Aboso Kai no ma board me. Na masa hwe aboso kan no my body no. Driver ni so a walo do from Accra. This also okọ Kaswa straight no. No abesi Kaneshi. No agi Kaneshi fair. No asa to aso esi odoko. No odoko fair. No asa driver need to make 4 times. Answer no bedru Kaswa. Na ye ni say ye. Enye ye. Enti no normal there how power obi wo omayimu pa.
They should help us get things at a cheaper price. The dollar, they have already told us we know the dollar is cheap now. If the dollar is cheap, that means goods and commodities should be cheap.
Right, yet some spare parts dealers at Ghana's biggest spare parts hub, Abosokan, here in Accra. We know Parliament is a center of attraction today. Let me take you right there and speak with my colleague, Christian Yale, who is painting for us a picture in the chamber. Christian, if you can hear me, talk to us about what is happening in the chamber now.
Great. So right about now, members of Parliament are beginning to gather here. What it means is that very soon proceedings would begin. First on the item is a big one as well, which is the likely approval of the Chief Justice nominee. Yesterday, the report of the appointment committee was taken, and so today MPs would debate it, and as it were, after that debate, there would be the approval of which we know that it cannot be by consensus really, but definitely there would be a vote put to it, and then that would happen. So this is the first item today, and so very soon once proceedings begin, that is what is expected to happen. And then later, when we do reconverge around 2 p.m., the budget reading, the 2026 budget reading would also begin as well. And so right now, when you enter the Chamber of Parliament, MPs are just more or less fraternizing and having some chat here and there in preparation for the busy schedules ahead of them today.
And quick question, talk to us about their mood. You tell me they are fraternizing. What does it look like they are talking about or looking forward to?
Well, basically, you know, there are a number of them who have not been around for some time, and they get to see their friends after a long while, and so that becomes a reconnection for them. But I see some also talking to some of the ministers as well, and you know the background conversations that would more or less talk about government and all of that. But you know that what happened yesterday is also one thing that most of the members of Parliament are concerned about, and so it is also a conversation that you hear in the background that some of the members of Parliament are talking about. But it is rather, unanimous, feeling or sentiment that is shared by members of Parliament from both sides of the divide about the need for some urgent action, just as they even echoed it yesterday. So the conversations are just basically, resuming about that one as well, and also expectations into the budget reading for next year.
Right, Christian, let's look at the appearance of these MPs. We know that usually the minority is in black and the majority is in white. There are placards and all of that. Do you see any form of unison in what these the MPs are wearing?
Oh no, I mean today the minority members have appeared in their regular attire and colors. No uniform color as in black or red, but they are just here as any other day of coming to the chamber to transact government business. There are some MPs who are in white on the majority bench or on the majority caucus, and then others are in their black suits. There are a few who have also represented themselves in some traditional costumes, like in the kente cloths here and there. I mean, right now you see some of them as well who are, shaking hands and hugging here and there. So it is generally a very warm one, and I'm sure that it looks very good indeed.
All right, Christian, thank you for bringing us those updates. My colleague Christian Yale bringing us update from the House of Parliament, which is scheduled to host the Finance Minister at 2 p.m., who is presenting the 2026 budget. And there are a lot of expectations from Ghanaians, CSOs, and stakeholders who matter in this topic. Talking about stakeholders, the TUC says it is looking forward to government prioritizing jobs. Dr. Kwabena Nyakun Otu is Deputy Secretary General of the TUC.
Deputy Secretary General of TUC, Dr. Kwabena Nyakun Otu, told our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku that job creation remains the most effective way to address the growing unemployment situation.
There are recruitments for teachers, for nurses, And today, we have seen what happened at Airwork, where because of the huge unemployment we have on our hands, these guys unfortunately have to crash to their death. There's an indication that the unemployment challenge is huge and getting bigger by the day. So government must use the budget to attempt to address it.
He also emphasized the need for a national dialogue on the country's pension system.
Investment of the Tier 2 is becoming a problem. So we think that government must use the budget to attempt to address some of these things. But ultimately, we are also calling on government to institute a national stakeholder dialogue on pensions so that collectively we can sit, talk about pensions and address all the challenges that we today find about pension.
Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Kwabena Nyarko Otu there. This is the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Let's move away from the issue of the budget now and go to the Office of the Attorney General, because his office has been responding to some issues on the National Cathedral and the case brought before it and the Supreme Court. A press release from the Office of the Attorney General says the attention of the Office of the Attorney General has been drawn to a number of misleading statements on both mainstream and social media, which sought to give the impression that the Attorney General has cleared Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta of wrongdoing in the expenditures relating to the National Cathedral. That is far from the truth. In a suit that was filed before the current Attorney General assumed office titled Jonathan Amabile versus Attorney General, the plaintiff challenged the constitutionality of certain decisions made by the former finance minister, including the vote of funds for the construction of the National Cathedral. In respect of the National Cathedral, the plaintiff contended that the financing of the construction of the cathedral from the consolidated fund as a contingency vote without the prior approval of the Speaker and the Chairperson of the Council of State contravened Article 179, Clause 11 of the Constitution. So the question before the Supreme Court narrowly concerns compliance with Article 179, Clause 11 of the Constitution. The Attorney General, as nominal defendant to the suit and an officer of the Supreme Court, has an ethical duty to state what the correct position of the law is in relation to the issue of whether Article 179, Clause 11 was contravened. And it was that specific issue alone which was addressed in the argument filed in court. The Supreme Court has not been called upon to pronounce on whether the disbursement of funds to the architect, the consultants, the procurement of contractors and related matters were lawful. So the question of payment for the construction of the National Cathedral project does not arise at all in the case before the Supreme Court. Therefore, it is far-fetched for anyone to say that the position taken by the Attorney General, which is specific to the contravention of Article 179, Clause 11 of the Constitution, vindicates the decision to expend tax monies on the National Cathedral project. The Office of the Attorney General remains steadfast in its commitment to exact accountability in relation to the actual disbursement of funds, the procurement processes, and allegations of corruption and money laundering that pertain to the National Cathedral project. The forensic audit commissioned by the government will soon be completed, and the result of the audit will be made public. And so there you have it, the response coming from the Office of the Attorney General. Away from that, Deputy Defense Minister Broja Jemfi, together with the High Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, has visited families of victims of yesterday's military recruitment stampede at the Agyemang Sports Stadium in Accra. The delegation also included the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, who joined in consoling the bereaved families and assessing the level of support being provided to those injured. The tragic incident occurred when thousands of young Ghanaians thronged the Agyemang Stadium for a recruitment exercise, resulting in a stampede that claimed 6 lives and left several others injured. Earlier, the Deputy Minister visited the 37 Military Hospital, where relatives of the victims have been keeping vigil and seeking information about their loved ones. Our correspondent Joseph Armstrong Gold Alagbe is with the team on the visit and joins us now live with more. Armstrong, give us a sense of what you observed during the minister's interaction with the affected families.
So it was a very solemn mood when the Deputy Defense Minister, Honorable and he also came, was the Gender Minister. Later they were joined by the Greater Accra Regional Minister, and then I also saw the NY boss, Dr. Osman Ayariga, also joining the team. So far they've visited about 2 of the bereaved family to console with them, and speaking to us earlier, the Deputy Defense Minister indeed said that the military high command has commenced investigation into what happened yesterday as directed by the president. And as we speak now, we are heading towards the central region where we are told some of the bereaved family are also located. About 2 of them, we are told, are located somewhere in the central region. About 3 of them, I beg your pardon, also there where the minister is trying to also make sure they meet all the family members to console them and also assure them of government full support going forward. Well, as it stands right now, it is optimistic that the bereaved family are not going to be left alone. There are plans, the pipeline earlier, speaking to some of the family members, they also have a call to government saying that for the surviving victims, they want government to make it as part of their plan so that they wouldn't have to go through the body selections, but then it will be automatic selection for them. But that indeed will be determined by the military high command whether or not they are still fit enough to go through the procedure. Grace.
Armstrong, earlier you were at the 37 Military Hospital where family members of their victims currently on admission have been checking on them. What was the situation there? Have they been able to identify their members?
Yeah, so we met almost all the family members of those who are injured. They were all gathered there this morning. We are told that those that were in coma as of yesterday. Yesterday the commander for the 37 Military Hospital did say that some of the 5 of them are in critical condition. You are told the situation is very.
I'm sorry, Armstrong, we are losing you. If you could position yourself very well and talk to us.
Yes, Grace, yes. Right. So that's why I went off a bit. So I was saying, those that were in coma after yesterday, this morning, you are told around 3 they've regained their consciousness and they are now speaking. And one thing we also identified was the fact that some of them found their way to a parents brought them to the hospital and the 38 Military Hospital accommodated them. So hopefully,
all right, Armstrong, I'm sorry we're struggling to hear you, but we thank you for the update you've brought us so far. Let's listen to some of the mothers who have been speaking to our team.
And then no for us, or see, or Mutiano, or come one baby from now, if you will. It's on our form. Diana would dinner means any who will say, Undi Hobby, and will call a crowd and come more than that from Mukuja and Canasi. Midday doing Yamimpona, the home in mobile. Now I come more of a film.
They said, Naka. We no more as you know. That catch me so much not to us.
Omunya Jenin to a year or Opidu Hena or Moje Nidini in your manana. Gomu, Penfona Babenia Casase, or Beshanaman.
You heard my colleague Armstrong in that interaction with one of the victims of yesterday's stampede that he sustained some injuries, and according to the mother, he is doing well now. Despite the chaos that characterized the phase 1 of the military recruitment process across the country on Tuesday, exercise continues unabated. In the Volta regional capital, over 4,000 applicants are expected to go through the process. When we get back phone, we will speak to our correspondent in the region to bring us more on this and whether the phase has has changed because of what happened yesterday. Meanwhile, the plea of former Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Mustafa Abdul Hamid, and 9 others have been postponed to December 9, 2025. This follows the reassignment of the case to a different court. The 10 accused persons, including 3 companies, are facing 54 criminal charges filed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. In court today, Principal Prosecutor Adelaide Kobiri told the new presiding judge, Justice Bertha Eniejay, that the prosecution had filed a new charge sheet on October 17 to replace an earlier one. She explained that the case had now been transferred and would be heard next on December 9. The defense lawyers did not oppose the request, prompting Justice Eniejay to adjourn proceedings. Mustafa Abdul Hamid and his co-accused are alleged to have engaged in corruption and money laundering activities amounting to over 291 million cedis and $332,000. You're still on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Let's speak to my colleague, Lord Edward Sari, who was in court for us. Lord, talk to us. What happened in court this morning?
Right, Grace. So this morning we're expecting 2 things to happen. One was that the plea of the former NPA CEO Mustafa Abdul Hamid and then the 9 other accused persons was supposed to be taken. You recall that somewhere last month, the Office of the Special Prosecutor amended the charge sheet, altering it from 24 charges to now 54. And so they were coming to court today to withdraw the old charge sheet and then substitute it with a new or amended charge sheet in court. When they came to court, the principal prosecutor indicated to the court that they were going to substitute the charge sheet, but they had been informed that the case against Mustafa Hamid and the 9 others had been assigned to a different court altogether. And so they were praying for an adjournment to the day that has been scheduled for that new court to hear Mustafa Hamid's case. Grace, the court was packed to the fullest. There's so many people in court because all 10 accused persons, including 3 companies, came with some sympathizers or supporters who came with them, basically. Now, the second thing had to do with Mustafa Hamid moving an application to enable the court to, as it were, release his passport. You recall that we got to know that he has an engagement somewhere in Canada, a political engagement, so he wanted to pray the court for his passport to be released. You recall that after he pleaded not guilty to the previous charge sheet, he was granted bail, his passport seized, among other bail conditions. And so it was on the back of that he was going to pray the court for his passport to release. That also did not happen because of the new developments. And so the case has been adjourned to December 9, where by then, hopefully, the prosecution would withdraw the old charge sheet and then replace it with the amended charge sheet, Grace.
All right, Lord, thank you for bringing us those updates. My colleague, Lord Edward Sari, updating us on the case involving the former CEO of the NPA. Let's go back to the House of Parliament, which is a center of attraction, even as the Finance Minister prepares to present the 2026 budget. My colleague, Christian Yale, is engaging some members of Parliament.
Of resources. Otherwise, that would have been kept in Accra back to the various assemblies for development. With development, we are talking about provision of water, health, educational services, and everything else. And so the verdict is out there. The jury is out on the street of Afajato South. It's not that I am in Accra and making the story. Not at all. They are excited. But you see, like Oliver Twist, we can only ask for more. And indeed, we are happy, extremely happy, that we have a president who is so committed about fiscal discipline. We are where we are today out of sheer discipline and a monitoring, prudence. And so today you realize that after years of volatility in the inflationary and other exchange rates, today the stability we are enjoying is bearing fruit. And that is our expectation that going forward, we find ways to sustain it. And we know the finance minister. I think that youth unemployment has become such a topical issue. And that is what led to the unfortunate tragedy we had yesterday. So I expect that lot for our economy, so that we unleash job opportunities, so that we create entrepreneurs. These are very viable areas that we must invest in. Agriculture must be the way forward, so that when we eat what we grow, we can grow what we eat at the same time. And in the process, we left some for export market and then build
an opportunity for the services, especially the military, to look at